Welcome back to my channel. It's Nikki of Nikki's Homemade Crafts. And today we're going to do part 2 of the Tunisian Crochet Mystery Crochet Along. I am so excited. I can't believe how many of you guys posted your pictures into the Facebook group. I loved seeing them all. We're using the hashtag June24MCAL. I am so glad you did. Now it's time for part 2. That one is a quick one, so you should be able to finish that very fast. And now it's time to talk about the materials really quickly as a reminder and where to find the pattern. I'm using this yarn, which is Mary Maxim's Glimmer yarn in the color Salmon and Starlette yarn in the color White. Those are the two colors that we're using. As I mentioned in the beginning, you're going to need at least one skein just to make sure that, you know, tension issues and all that stuff is accommodated for. I did use one full skein of each color. And I also used a Clover Takumi hook, which is a 6.5 millimeter hook with a 9-inch cord and a stopper at the very end. I mentioned in part 1 and how you can substitute if need be, so rewatch part 1 if you missed on how to do that. Now, also quick reminder, there is a link down below in the description for the pattern. You have an option to get it with ads, but free to view on my website. There's a table of content below the very first image, so you can click on it and it jumps you right to part 2. But you can also join the Crochet Club, our membership, where you can access over 400 ad-free patterns, get me on a weekly basis teaching you live exactly what you want to be taught. We also meet on a monthly basis. You get extra coupon codes and lots of other additional resources and printables. And you can also join as a trial member where you only get access to the Mystery Crochet Along pattern ad-free, as well as the Facebook group, but you won't get access to the full vault until you become a full member. So that's another option for you as well. So let's get started with part 2. You're going to start with white yarn because white is hard to see on the white surface. I'm going to show you how to do it in a salmon color, but you are going to start with white or whatever is your equivalent. And you're going to learn a new stitch. So the very first thing I want you to do, and it's the same thing as part 1, I need you to do a foundation row of Tunisian simple stitches, but this time you're going to have a chain of 41. I'm going to keep my little swatch here, okay, so that way you can see it fully on the video on how to do this stitch. So you're going to have a chain of 41, and then starting from the second chain from the hook, you're going to pull up your loops just like we did in part 1, and then you're going to do the return pass just like we did in part 1, and then you should be right here at this stage. So remember, I have less chains here just so you can see it all, but you should have 41 chains at the beginning, and therefore the forward pass also has 41 loops. Now let's do this, okay? So we're now going to do a new stitch, and it's called the Tunisian knit stitch, okay? It's gonna have a knit-like look. So now let me remind you again of these stitches. You're gonna have here a vertical front bar, and you have a back bar behind it right there, okay? So if you turn it a little bit, you can see it there in the back, okay? So this in the back here, and this is in the front, okay? It's very important here because you're gonna need to know about both of these bars this time for this stitch. So for Tunisian simple stitches, you went from the front and you kind of pushed the bar towards the front, and then you pulled up your loop. That's the Tunisian simple stitch. But starting in row 2, you're going to do the Tunisian knit stitch, and what you're going to do actually is going to go through both of these bars. So literally split them in a center. So there's the back bar, this is the front bar. Go right through it to the back, okay? So you're going to literally push your hook to the back like so, and now you're going to pull up a loop like so, okay? So again, you're going to push it between those two bars. You have the back bar and the front bar. You're going to go right between, yarn over, and pull through. Okay, that's how you're pulling up your loops. Go through and pull up your loops. Sometimes crocheters find this version easier and faster than the Tunisian simple stitch because they're just pushing through and pulling up a loop. but you know, it's really a preference. I really like the look of this stitch. However, I'm going to give you a heads up already. This stitch curls a lot more than the Tunisian simple stitch does. So little heads up, you definitely want to get this one blocked. Okay. If you ever notice, and I want to show you and did this on purpose this time. If you ever notice that you pulled your loops a little bit big like this, do you see that? I pulled these bigger than I should have. So what you can do is, and you kind of want to make sure that everything is even. Okay. So what you can do is you can pull here a little bit and make them kind of even. Do you see that? And I'm just going to go and pull these through until everything is about the same. So if that ever happens to you because you weren't paying attention or something like that, because that happens to me all the time, you know, I just double check to make sure they're all even. And then I just adjust it. So you're just going to work your way over until the end. And now if you look, they're all the same. Okay. If that ever happens to you, that's what you do. Okay, so now you're going to do the return pass. So yarn over and pull through. So you probably notice I went in the back here through 2 loops again, just like before, right? The return pass is exactly the same. So yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over and pull through 2, 2, and so forth until the end. All right, and now you're done. And you now actually, if you look a little bit closely, you can kind of see how even the very first row turns into the Tunisian knit stitch. Because we went through it, it changes the way the look of the very first row. So you now can see how it changed it down here, and it almost looks knit-like. Once you do a few rows, you're going to see it a little more clearly. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to do 3 rows in total in the beginning for the first color. Remember, that is white, right? Then you switch over to salmon, then white, then salmon, and then white again. Okay, so let me show you how that actually looks like. So here's how that's going to look like. Okay, so down here you're going to see this is the beginning of it. So this was all white. So I had Tunisian simple stitch first, and then 2 rows of Tunisian knit stitch in the white. Then I switched over to salmon, 3 rows, white, 3 rows, salmon, 3 rows, and then white, 3 rows again. And then we have a finishing row, which I'll show you in a second. But first, I want to remind you really quickly on how to do the color change over here. Okay, so if you are going to do a color change, if you're at the stage of the color change, that is going to happen at the very last stitch here where there's a yarn over and pull through, right? So you're going to make a slip knot, okay? You're going to do a yarn over and pull through. The yarn over is your slip knot in this case, okay? You're going to pull here your salmon just a tad, and then you're going to keep going. So you can see that the very first loop right here, the yarn over and pull through, which was the slip knot, right, is going to be in that new color. So if you're now going to continue with the new color, you can see everything is in the same color, right? Because the very last yarn over was with a new color. So that's very important that you do that during the very last yarn over and pull it through there to make sure everything looks clean and the color transition looks proper. Now let's pretend I finished my project so I can show you how to finish the very last row. You can see it right here. It looks a little bit different than before, right? So it doesn't have those openings. So if you look closely here, you can kind of see that there's openings in between, right? It looks unfinished. So in order to finish it up, what I like to do is make 1 row of slip stitches. So you literally just go back over and it's just 1 row. So just 1 forward pass, okay? And you're going to do slip stitches. And that's kind of how I finish it, because that way it looks very similar to the bottom. Okay, so you can, by the way, I already blocked this a little bit. Okay, I don't think I blocked it enough because there's a little curl here still on the bottom, which is totally fine. But this is how it's going to look like. So let me show you how to finish it off. So the very last row, and this is only for part 2 here so far, what you're going to do is, so you're going to go all the way through, and then you're going to pull through. So you're going to make a slip stitch. Okay, so it's like a Tunisian knit stitch, but a slip stitch. So go through, yarn over and pull through and through. Okay, so that's how you're going to do it. You're not keeping your loops on your hook, you're going to push it right away through. So that's how you're going to finish the very last row, is just by doing these slip stitches, as you can see here. Okay, that's literally how you're going to do it. Just push through, and that's how you finish it. And then at the very end, you're simply going to block your project, and then you're done. So this is how part 2 looks like at the very end. So this is the back of it. So it looks very much like the purl stitch, the Tunisian purl stitch. And then the front of it is the Tunisian knit stitch. So as I said, you're going to have 3 rows in total per color, and you're going to have here 5 stripes, and you can see that part 1 had 9 stripes. This is 4 stripes, but part 1 also had more rows, so it'll look a little different, right? But still very, very similar. Now in terms of cutting your yarn, I highly recommend, about a foot or 2. At least I think a foot or 2 is probably going to be appropriate for both colors on both sides. So just let it hang there for now. You can totally block it, and so that it's flat, because this part really will curl. Okay, so block it if that is going to be more helpful for you. I personally think it will be, at least for part 2, and then you're done. And now it's time to take a picture of part 2 and post it into the Facebook group called Crocheting with Nikki with the hashtag June24MCAL. And then that way I can find you and celebrate you. And everyone else can see it too. We all love to see our progress together. We're in a big group, we're a big community here, and we all love watching you all together work on the same projects. These mystery crochet alongs are so much fun, and they truly keep the mystery alive until the end. Because my feeling is this time none of you guys will guess what we're making. Fingers crossed, I'm keeping my promise that the mystery stays alive until the end. Do you have any guesses yet? Because I do want to know your guesses on what we're making. So hit me up. Any guesses of what we're making? I would love to know. Leave it in the comments or post it when you post your picture of part 2. And then I'll see you in part 3 in a couple of days. Unless this is a replay, then you will see it shortly here on the site. Go ahead and like, comment, and share this video with your crochet bestie. And of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Turn on the bell to get a notification next time I publish a video or go live. I hope to see you in the next video. I'm sure you want to watch it. I'll see you then. Bye!